Hello everybody, welcome back to Faith for Dummies, aka us, and hi to my other dummy, Rob.
Thank you for that introduction. That was very, very thoughtful of you. Hi Izzie, hi everybody else.
I was just wondering if I'm dummy 1 or dummy 2, but I think I'm dummy 2.
Yes, under the things on the logo. That's right, yeah, you're dummy 2. I can swap them. You can be dummy 1 if you want to be.
I think I have more dummy moments, but I'm younger than you, so I've been a dummy for less amount of time.
Yeah, this is just an insight for people of what we get up to when we talk, really, isn't it?
You guys, you would not want to see the unedited version of this podcast.
Anyway, no, it's not me, it's you, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to talk, but then you started talking.
I do that a lot.
Anyway, Rob, do you have a dummy moment this week?
Yes, I do actually. It's a small one, but still. I recently took a load of year 11s and year 13s to London to have some pizza and go see some sights. As a congratulations, you finished exams. You're not at school, everybody else is, on a Tuesday. It was great. And took some pictures for our Instagram and for the kids to see, but didn't send it on the WhatsApp group that they were in. Instead, sent it to a group of all my previous young people who are in a group that we like to catch up with. So they all just saw random pictures of us in London and eating pizza. And no one said anything for a while. And then it took me... I know, yeah. Then I realised what I'd done, so I was like, "Oh well, you can enjoy these pictures," and left them there. So just a little thing, but there you go.
It's not the worst, wrong photos or wrong group chat that you could have sent something to. I've seen
That's true.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Anyway, today we are on part 2, aren't we, of sharing your faith. This one is at university. Last week was in your workplace. So this week, I believe you interviewed your friend Charlie.
I did, yeah. My friend Charlie is a student pastor down in Bournemouth. So I chatted to her about what tips and advice she would give to those of you who are going to uni this autumn or maybe even for next year.
She's also like your friend from Leicester originally, isn't she?
Yeah, we have a very fun story of how we became friends. And the short of it is that we were not friends when we were in Leicester. And we have some quite hilarious messages when we look back. So I'll tell you that one day, Rob.
Sounds fun. I look forward to it. I presume I'll just hand over to Izzie and Charlie's interview. Take it away, Izzie and Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
Hello, thanks for having me.
No problem. For context, Charlie is like one of my best friends. So this is like the best day at work to just get to chat to her on podcast.
So good.
So I told you before we started that this is called Faith for Dummies, and we always share a dummy moment of something just really dumb that you've done in your day. Nothing big, just really silly. Like this morning when I put yogurt in a bowl and I managed to miss the bowl and I hit the kitchen cupboard, the kitchen floor, and then I stepped in it. That was my dummy moment today. And we were wondering, did you have your own dummy moment that you could share with us?
Yes, I actually have quite a few. I feel like these things happen on a weekend. But I had a murder mystery birthday party last weekend, and it was set in Lake Como, and I think it was said once that it was set in Lake Como right at the start. And then towards the end, we were looking at some police evidence that I was reading out, and it was, what was it? It was like Police Department of Lake Como. But I just read it as Police Department of COMO. And I was questioning it as I was saying it. I was like, no, that doesn't sound right, but it is what it is. And everyone just erupted in laughter. And I took me a moment to realise it said Como. There we go.
I love that. I feel like me and Charlie voice note basically all day, every day. And we often have these moments where we're like, oh, I've forgotten where I parked my car, or like, oh, I've just lost this thing, or oh, I've just turned up for a meeting 3 hours early. Like we often have stuff like this, don't we?
Yeah, it's in the moment as well. It's not like retelling the story later on. It's, we're living it.
We basically just live podcast our lives to each other, don't we?
We do, yeah.
Great. So the reason that we wanted to have you on the podcast today is because we're talking about going to uni and being a Christian and sharing your faith at uni. And you are a student pastor in a church down in Bournemouth. In fact, ever since you've been a student, you've had a real heart and passion for students and worked in different kinds of ways with them. But what does being a student pastor involve?
Great question. I ask myself this quite a lot. It is one of the most varied roles, I think, and it looks different in every context. But here in Bournemouth, the majority of it is planning and organising things like socials and student life groups. but also helping students really integrate into church, and whether that's getting them on serving teams or finding a mentor, or just helping them get to know other people. And also it could look like speaking at events like Christian Union. They have their Freshers Week and things like that. So yeah, it's very varied, and each day genuinely looks very different. But yeah, that's in a nutshell.
You went to university as a student as well, a few years ago now. What was your favourite thing about being at uni, and what was one of the biggest challenges that you faced?
This is going to sound like it's just set up for the podcast, but genuinely, I want you to know hand on heart that this was one of my favourite things about uni. It was just getting stuck into church. I think it was one of the best things that I did for my mental health and for meeting people and just being a part of something where I felt known and seen, but also just giving my time to things that were fun. I remember doing loads of like kids events, and it was just like an all day thing, and you just didn't know what you were doing, but it was just so much fun. And also like helping people and getting stuck into stuff that that was outside of yourself, that was nothing to do with your degree, that was nothing to do with the reason that you were here in Bournemouth, but actually just really grew me in so many areas of my giftings, and areas that I didn't even know that I had at the time. And also just meeting like-minded people. I think I just met parent figures, grandparent figures, and people that are still very much in my life, 7 years on. Yeah, I think it genuinely, getting stuck into church was one of the best things I did at uni. But I think one of my biggest challenges, I think, was almost like finding the like-minded people at university. My course had 300 people, so it was a lot of people to get to know. And I didn't necessarily have loads in common with the people that I studied, because the course was media and communication, so very broad. It wasn't like a niche specialist where we all kind of had a similar taste to it. But I just loved cozy evenings in, board games, and a lot of people on my course just loved going out. And I was in bed by 9 p.m. So we had very different lifestyles. But I think I really learned how to persevere in that, and actually still make an effort with those people who weren't kind of like me, I think was actually really important. But also some friendships really surprised me, and some people who were those party people became some of my really good friends. And I thought, I'm glad I kept open-minded, but it definitely felt like a challenge, definitely at first.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk a little bit more about like advice around finding churches and how to get stuck in and stuff. But I think that's such a massive, like the fact that was one of your best things about uni was joining a church. And I know as well from knowing you that you found different jobs through joining a church. Like you obviously work for the church that you went to, and you found your friendship groups there and stuff. And it's massive, isn't it? Like sometimes church can feel like, this is just what I do on a Sunday. It doesn't really matter if I don't like it. It's not the biggest part of my life, but actually it really can be. It can really be a huge part of the rest of your life as well, can't it? So that's massive. And actually, even if you're just there for 3 years, that's a long time to not get stuck into a church, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you see loads of students in your church and at Christian unions where you speak, and all around the country sometimes as well at conferences and stuff. What would your top few pieces of advice be to somebody? So this is going to come out in early September. So for people who are about to leave for uni, and they are either they're Christians already or they're exploring their faith, what would your top few pieces of advice be for those people?
I have so many, but I will just give you a few. I think my first one is to just be really open. And that's going to look like so many different things. But I think whether that is joining a really niche society like Harry Potter Society, or whether it's trying a new recipe for dinner, I think it's your time in life where you've just left, you've flown the nest, you've left your parents, and likely you do stuff that your parents do because that's what you've known. But actually, this is such a great opportunity to just broaden your horizons in that. And I think especially with a lot of like mainstream universities, there are just so much more stuff to get involved in. I remember when I came to Bournemouth, there was like a surfing society, and I was like, I've literally grown up in one of the most landlocked places. Like surfing was so out of my horizon, but I was like, try something new. And I think that it's a great opportunity to explore new things. But I'd say on that is balancing exploring new things, but also reminding yourself to be planted in Jesus in that. And actually we can be people who hold the truth of what we know, but also we don't have to be the stereotypic, classic, boring people. But actually, I truly believe that Jesus had so much fun, and I think we should too. So I think Yeah, I think being authentic. There was a study that came out about Gen Z and saying how the character trait they look for is to be authentic. And I think just being that and kind of, people will get to know the real you, which is important. My second piece is invite. And again, this is quite a broad piece of advice, but I think it's where I saw the most gold in my own years at university. Whether that is asking the person that you've just met on the first day of course to come to this freshman event with you, or whether it's grabbing coffee and getting to know people, they are going to want to make friends just as much as you will want to make friends. And actually being that person to be bold and invite, I think is really key. But also invite your friends and peers to church. Fusion, which is a Christian movement, they help students that share their faith at university. They did a survey to 1,000 students, and one of the outcomes was that 75% of students said that they would say yes to come to church. I don't know about those of you listening, but that really shocked me. And I think I said a lot of the no's for my friends. And I so wish that I could go back and invite all of my friends to church, and maybe they would know Jesus now. So be bold and just keep that statistic in mind that 75% of your friends could say yes. And my final bit is find a church ASAP. A lot of universities, again, will have a Christian union, and they'll probably have an Instagram that you can follow even right now. And they may do some form of church search, and I'd really recommend to get involved in that, because you can go along to churches with other people and you don't feel the kind of like the newbie by yourself. But also, if you're going to Christian festivals, or like have been, just like make the most of them and just really go to stuff that is specific for students, like listen to podcasts, because there's so much out there that I think is to this really specific life stage that you're entering into. But also Fusion, as I mentioned earlier on, they have an app which is called Student Link Up, and it is a great resource for you to help you find churches. So you type in where you're going to university, and then it comes up off a massive map and shows you those that are on it. And you can even message student pastors on the app. And as a student pastor myself, it is honestly one of my favourite things to receive a message of someone that's coming, and they're reaching out, and I'll take them for coffee and get to know them. And I think it is one of, whether you end up at that church or not, it's still a great way to just help you feel settled and to get to know the landscape. And also just DM on Instagram as well. Like churches are so often have a really high profile Instagram page, and they might even have a student Instagram page as well. So just be bold and just DM and just, get to know, ask her questions. They want to help.
Thank you so much. I was like so quiet through all of that, just listening. And I think the thing you said about being authentic with people, that is huge. And I think it's really easy to go to uni, even if you're happy to kind of declare your faith and that you're a Christian. It's really easy to kind of go to a church and think, I've got to be cool. I've got to be somebody that I'm not. I've got to try and get in with the crowd at this church who, they seem to know what they're doing. They seem to know everybody. And actually, sometimes it's just the people who are sat towards the side who are feeling a bit like you. They're feeling a bit shyer or a bit quieter. And actually, they might be the people to try and talk to you, but you can't find them if you don't go into a church, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But and absolutely, like inviting people, I think that's massive. I didn't know that statistic, that 75% of students would say yes to going to church. That's mad. I think being a student is such a weird time in your life. Like, you're not a kid, but you're not an adult. You have a lot of freedom, but you're also tied to a timetable. You're away from home, but you're also still a bit nervous because you've not really been away from home much before. And it's such a time to grow and to get involved in things that you wouldn't. And to just like people and ask those questions. The worst somebody can do is say no. Yeah,
exactly. And I think I remember someone saying to me once, they said, and this is quite a big thing, but they said, like, if they say no, that's okay. Maybe I feel a bit embarrassed. That's fine. I can get over that. But actually them saying yes, that is their life being transformed. If they come to know Jesus, and then they will then invite people to church. And actually that effect that we have. And I think that really encouraged me of being like, I can take the hit, but actually the gain is so much bigger than the loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And completely about like messaging a student pastor, a youth worker or a student pastor or whatever. Like, our job is to spend time with people. Our job is to meet new people and introduce them to church. And you're not being an inconvenience. You're not taking up somebody's time. If you message a student pastor like Charlie, I regularly get voice notes like, a new student messaged me, I'm going for coffee, I'm so excited. And that's her heart. And that will be the heart of most student pastors that you come across, won't it?
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, it's literally our job. So it's a privilege too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so final question then. Are there any practical things that you could suggest? So we've talked about a lot of things about inviting people or trying new things, but anything practical you could suggest to a teenager who they already know Jesus, they have a strong faith, but they're scared about going to uni and how they're practically going to keep up with their faith, or maybe somebody thinking about trying it out for the first time? Anything practical? I mean, you shared a few, but any more?
Yeah, so I think a big one, actually. I think if you have a home church and you've been part of youth, and then I think asking your youth worker or some older people in your church to pray for you and to check in, I think is so big. I think what I've learned is actually older people really want to be praying, and that is the thing that they spend their days and time doing. So yeah, I think that's a big one, is to just have someone check in with you, whether that is a youth worker or someone else, but have people praying. I think find a Bible plan that you can start almost like the day, whether you move on a Saturday, have one that starts on the Sunday, that you can start as soon as possible, so that you're starting your routines from literally the first day. Because I think routines are so much easily formed when we start them from the start. But also, if you have Christian friends at the universities or at home or at your uni, then maybe start like a prayer triplet group chat where you can share your struggles and joys. I think sharing things and being honest and being like, this is really hard, I think is really key. Because there'll be things that you find hard, but there'll also be things that you find easy and joyful. So I think having people to kind of share in that. But I think my biggest one, and I think I probably said this a lot already, but I think getting stuck into your new church as soon as possible, so that you can find a mentor figure or someone in your city, someone who is really present, that can encourage you, they can pray for you, they can read your Bible together, and they can actually encourage you to really partake in church. I know that it's a lot of people's stories that I see all the time is you move in September, and then by the December you go home, and then people are like, oh, how's the church you got stuck into? And they're like, oh, I actually just went to 10 different churches over my first term and didn't really get stuck in. And then you go back in January and loads of people have already formed all of their friendships and have got stuck into teams and into life groups and things. So I think my advice is almost just get stuck in and just commit as soon as you know. And it's okay to try different churches within that. But I think, I moved to university on the Saturday, and on the Sunday I tried the church that I'm now at, and just really felt that it was right from the start. But be praying within that, and discerning what feels right, whether that is something like your home church or whether that is quite different. But I think just getting stuck into church as soon as possible is the best advice I could give.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I was going to just add finding people in that church who are older, who aren't students, but you kind of said that with a mentor figure, or even just people who are parents of people in their 20s and their kids have probably left, and they probably would love to have you round for a meal or to go on a walk or something like that. And it might feel a bit odd, but actually having friends who are kind of the age of your parents or your grandparents can be really helpful to help you feel at home as well, can't they?
Yeah, definitely. And I think also something I really realised is they know the city that you've just moved to inside out. So if there's things that you're like, oh, I don't know where my nearest shop is, or I don't know where a really nice walk is, or just different things like that, they know those things. And I think once you live somewhere a long time, those things come second nature. But when you've just moved somewhere, it's really reassuring to be like, these people know this place, and you feel a bit of safety in that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I think to anyone who is listening and about to go to uni, whether you're really excited or really scared or somewhere in between both of those, we just want to reassure you that wherever you go in the country or in the world for this next stage of life, God will be going with you and he will be there. And whether it takes you a little while to find a church or to find a friendship group, lean on God, and he's going with you wherever you're going, no matter how difficult it might be. And he wants you to get stuck into a church there, to be part of a church family, and to keep up with your relationship with him. But he's the constant in all of the change. And I think that's really important to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think just making him your foundation is one of the best things that you can do, but especially when you're at university with lots of change and stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I've loved it. It's been so fun.
Oh, amazing. Right. Well, back to Rob and Izzie in the studio.
Thank you so much, Charlie. That was super helpful. Thank you, Izzie, for interviewing her.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie, so much. That was so helpful. Charlie is full of helpful, wise advice in my life, so I had no doubt that she was going to give some wise advice. But Rob, did anything particularly stand out to you?
Yeah, I really liked what she said about getting stuck in with church straight away. Like, I know this is sharing your faith at university, but it's just so good for you and your own faith just to get stuck into church straight away. And she said she moved in on Saturday, and Sunday she was at a church. And she also talked about if you go have a look at lots of churches and by Christmas you've still not settled in to one, she kind of discouraged you not to perhaps do that unless you feel like you need to. But yeah. Oh, and she also said some good stuff about having a Bible plan before you go. So when you start there, your flatmates and just people around will see like the good habits that you're in straight away. So yeah, what about you? Is there anything stand out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was just like encouraged by what she said about prayer. So having people praying for you before you go, and actually maybe finding people in that new church who are a bit older and a bit wiser to pray for you as you're at uni, who are maybe going to see you and be able to catch up, or starting a prayer triplet with people, particularly if you find some Christians at uni. You don't have to know people really well to start a prayer triplet. But I think if you've acknowledged that you're in the same church, or maybe you're on the same course, or you go to the same Christian union, like just starting that is so helpful, because they're the people you can be honest with when things are hard, or when you're feeling lonely in, being the only person of faith on your course or anything like that. And they can be praying for you as you share your faith with other people.
Yeah, that's really cool. And just before I set us all a challenge, just to say that was the end of our interviews for season 2. It's been great. Izzie and I have just had to record a bit of an intro and outro and let the visitors do the hard work. But, yeah, we do hope that you listeners have really enjoyed like what's been shared by other people. That's not just Izzie and my voice. I'm pretty sure the plan is to get some more people come in for season 3, so that'll be good. Anyway, a challenge for you for this episode and the previous one about sharing your faith in the workplace. It's going to be a pretty predictable challenge, but I'm challenging you to share your faith either at university or in the workplace or at school or at college or at home ed, wherever you are.
Yeah, great. Simple challenge. It might not be easy, but it's a simple one. And let people know how it goes. Like, ask people to pray for you as you do that as well.
Yeah, let us know how it goes as well. We'd like that. Yeah,
absolutely. We'd love to hear that. So next week, Rob, we're back to just me and you, and we're going to be talking about mental health. So how does our faith mix with our feelings, and what does Jesus have to say about our mental health?
That sounds great. Yeah, really looking forward to that one.
Great. Well, I'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone. Bye, Izzie.
Bye.
Bye.